The night is silent. Too silent. Imagine you're standing in a small coastal village. The air is cold. The sea is calm. Everyone is asleep, believing tomorrow will come like any other day. But it won't. From the darkness of the sea, something begins to move. At first, only shadows. Then the fog lifts. Long, narrow ships appear, fast, silent, carved with dragon heads that slice through the water. No flags, no warning, only the slow, terrifying rhythm of oars hitting the sea. And here's the part history rarely tells you. By the time people saw these ships, it was already too late. These men did not come to talk. They did not come to negotiate. They came to take. Fire explodes through the village. Screams cut through the night. Church bells ring. Not in prayer, but in panic. Tall figures storm the shore. Cold eyes. Calm faces. No hesitation. Axes catch the firelight. Shields lock together. Swords rise, not as tools, but as promises. Across Europe, a single prayer spreads from mouth to mouth. Deliver us, O Lord, from the fury of the Northmen. These were the Viking warriors. But stop for a moment, because this is where the story becomes terrifying. Vikings were not born monsters. They were forged by frozen lands, by brutal winters, by seas that killed the weak without mercy. They came from Scandinavia, places where survival itself was a battle. Cold hardened them. Hunger disciplined them. The sea taught them fearlessness. A Viking warrior was not a full-time soldier. He was a farmer, a sailor, a father. But when the call came, that man became something else. Ask yourself this. What happens when ordinary men stop fearing death? In Viking society, every free man was a warrior. Fighting was not a career, it was a duty. To protect land, to protect family, to protect honor. And honor meant everything. A man without honor had no place among his people. Glory was not selfish, it was inheritance. Something passed down, something remembered. Because Vikings believed one thing above all else. Life is short, honor lasts forever. Most men fear death. Vikings feared shame. They believed that dying bravely in battle earned them a place in Valhalla, the great hall of Odin. There, warriors would feast at night, fight by day, and prepare for the final war of the gods. Death was not the end. It was the reward. This belief changed everything. Steel breaks. Bodies fall. But belief doesn't. When Viking warriors charged forward, they did not slow down. They did not retreat. They did not beg. Most men would run. Vikings ran forward. And that is why fear stopped working against them. Their bodies were hardened long before battle. Training began in childhood, not in camps, but in life itself. Farming built strength. Sailing built balance. Wrestling built endurance. Pain was not avoided. Pain was the teacher. Boys learned to handle weapons early. Wooden swords became iron blades. Practice became scars. Weapons were not strangers. They were extensions of the body. And despite the chaos of battle, Vikings were not reckless. They trained discipline, timing, control. They fought as one, shield to shield, man to man, because one broken line meant death for all. Then came the weapon that made Europe tremble. The axe. Simple, brutal, unforgiving, easy to make, easy to repair, deadly in skilled hands. Axes, shattered shields, crushed armor, collapsed morale. Short axes struck fast in close combat. Long axes tore enemies apart from a distance. The sound of iron splitting wood was enough to break courage. The axe didn't just kill, it terrified. But for the few who could afford it, there was another weapon. The sword. Rare. Expensive. Powerful. A Viking sword was never just steel. It was identity. Honor. Legacy. Many were named. Passed from father to son. To lose a sword was to lose part of yourself. The axe belonged to the many. The sword belonged to the few. Raw power and refined death. Vikings also understood something else. You don't need to be close to kill. Spears flew before battles even began. Cheap, deadly, effective. Arrows rained from ships, hills, and forests. Enemies were weakened before they ever reached the shield wall. And that shield wall, a moving fortress of wood and iron, turned warriors into an unstoppable force. Shields blocked, shields pushed, shields struck. Armor was simple, practical, leather for most, chainmail for the wealthy. Survival mattered more than appearance. But here's the truth that made Vikings unstoppable. They mastered fear before the fight even began. They attacked at dawn, from rivers, where defenses were weakest. Speed was their advantage. Fear was their greatest weapon. Often, cities surrendered without a fight, because a frightened enemy is already defeated. And then there were the berserkers, the ones even Vikings feared. Before battle, they entered a trance, howling, striking shields, losing themselves completely. They felt no pain. They feared no death. They fought like wild beasts. Enemies believed these men were possessed by Odin himself. Entire armies broke before the first blow was struck. The Viking Age eventually ended. The ships stopped coming. The seas grew quiet. But here's the truth. History does not remember those who lived safely. It remembers those who lived boldly. Vikings were not born legends. They became legends. They didn't fight to survive. They fought to be remembered. And even today, in a world that fears struggle, the Viking warrior still stands as a reminder. Fear fades, steel rusts, but belief lives forever. Because the deadliest weapon Vikings ever carried was not the